Okay, so tell me a little bit about ADRC and, how it got started.
Thanks, Laszlo. Yeah, our ADRC, we have a group of dedicated professionals there. We all work for Pierce County Human Services. Our division is Aging and Disabilities Resources, and then my team is the Aging and Disabilities Resource Center. We serve anyone in Pierce County, 18 and over. We do have an extension program for relatives raising children that works with folks, typically grandparents and other extended family that are raising children. But everything that my team does under the ADR umbrella is for adult services. We exist because of an expansion of what at one time was senior information and assistance, whereby the disabled adult population was determined to also be a priority population for us to serve, which was a great step in the right direction because for so long it was strictly 60 and over. And so we would basically say there wasn't much we could do for an under 60 person who might have been lifelong disabled or newly disabled. So in 2005, the state awarded us an initial ADRC grant, which was jointly funded by the Administration on Aging and Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. We then piloted a well-functioning ADRC in Pierce County in collaboration with our local area agency on aging. So sometimes it gets confusing to folks because nationwide, what we do is called an area agency on aging. But in Pierce County, we're branded under Human Services and then further branded as Aging and Disabilities Resources. The team which I work within is the ADRC, and we're the front door for people to call about services that we offer across all of human services, and then even beyond that in county services as well. So we always tell people before you start searching for a county office that you need to get in touch with, simply call our 253-798-4600 intake line. We have 3 full-time staff that are on the phones there at 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. during the week. There's an after hours ability to leave messages. In the month of April, I think we had 1,100 calls incoming. We picked up 86% of those live. And of the 86% that we spoke to, they only waited for us for less than 45 seconds to get picked up. So we really pride ourselves on having that live function of talking to someone and talking to them pretty quickly. If any of your audience knows Social Security, Medicare, DSHS, sometimes they'll never get through. Sometimes the wait lists are an hour. It's not unusual. There's 2 hours waiting. So we're actually getting some spillover from those other places where people will call us and say, hey, can you help us get through to Social Security or Medicare? We do the best we can if there's workarounds, like if we know we can send a referral for a specific program by fax or by email, we do that. But the solution there is for the other agencies to build up their ability to live answer phone calls because that's what people really want. And I think as we move into the realm of everything being some sort of robot recording or whatever the case might be, having actual live humans answering the phone makes it even that much more important. Within our phone answering team, if they see something when they're talking that they know needs more face-to-face follow-up, we have a general case management team that takes those calls and actually goes out and sees people in their homes. We're still seeing some knock-on effects from COVID where some folks would prefer not to have us come to their homes. So we will talk to them on the phone. It's always better in the work we're doing now post-COVID during the summer months because we can always do a porch visit or a front yard visit or a patio deck visit. And people feel a little safer there, and they're welcome to mask up. They're welcome to ask us to mask up. There's not a county requirement to do that, but we certainly are trying to respect their concerns about staying healthy when they can. Within our program, we also have some specific caregiver programs that I'll talk a little bit about later, but what we always tell people is just call us if you've heard about a program. Don't try to figure it out or determine if you're eligible. Just give us a call to that 253-798-4600 number, and we'll work with you. We have a physical location at what's known as the County Soundview Building, which is at 3602 Pacific Avenue in Suite 200 between the Health Department and the 911 Operations Center. But we typically just do our work over the phone, via email, and then we'll see you live in person. So the building really doesn't function as having a face-to-face option there because most of our folks now are spread out working from home post-COVID. But we always just want you to call. We'll either resolve it on the phone or we'll make it a referral for further follow-up once we're done talking with you on the phone. And our website, www.pierceadrc.org, has a complete resource library there. It has some video library aspects to it. We have a public meeting and events calendar where we put all of our public education and outreach events on there. So we always encourage people, if you call us, you can also visit our website, pierceadrc.org, or just Google Pierce County Human Services and it'll take you right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's dive into some of the services that you provide. What's that all about?
Yeah, so what we really like to emphasize is that when you call us, we're going to kind of do a quick assessment of what the needs your voicing might be. Typically, people will say things like, my mom's declining. I'm worrying about her. I'm planning to have her move in with me. What are the supports I might be able to we might be able to provide for them? Or it might be a person who's newly disabled. They had a stroke or a traumatic brain injury, or they're suffering the effects of a heart attack or cancer or a disabling illness or injury. Or it might be someone who's lifelong, grew up with a disability from a young age or from birth, and they're trying to navigate the current system. So when those folks call, we kind of do a global assessment on the phone of what their needs might be. And then right away, we think, what are the care needs? We have different levels of care programs. One is known as the COPES program. That's a program that can put caregiver services in the home for a person who's income and asset eligible. And the nice thing on that program, if that program has a close friend or family member that's doing that care, we can have that person assigned to be a paid caregiver for them. There's another program called Taylor Support for older adults, which has higher income and asset eligibility. That program is limited by having a licensed, bonded, and insured care agency provide the care. And we also then have our family caregiver support program, which typically provides a lot of relief care for a boyfriend, girlfriend caregivers, husband and wife caregivers. It might be an adult child taking care of a parent. And it puts some relief care in the home so that person providing the care can get out a little bit during the week, go to their own appointments, go to church activities or some sort of other support groups they might be attending, and know that that person they're caring for has a capable relief caregiver coming in to look after them. That program, we find, really extends the life of people to continue to have that partner or husband and wife or husband and husband relationship. Statistically, once you get over the age of 60, if you have a spouse who becomes ill or injured and you're providing care to them, caregivers actually die at twice the rate of people they're caring for. And that's because the stress of it can be really significant. It affects both mental, physical health, emotional health. Folks that are caregivers over long periods of time are more subject to chemical dependency concerns, anxiety, depression, all those things. So that program really works to not only provide the relief care, we do some caregiver counseling, we do some caregiver support education, we provide some medical equipment into the home. It really allows that caregiver care receiver relationship to continue without it being such a giant burden that both parties suffer in the long run. That program is one we're always promoting. There's no asset limit on that. It's strictly based on couples' income, and it's a very generous scale on that. So I don't want to try to break down all the numbers on the different programs because that gets into the weeds pretty quickly. Sufficient to say we have a lot of programs that are there to provide care in the home and relief care when it's needed. We also do some secondary programs like energy assistance if people need that, especially this last winter. A lot of people were suffering some very high energy bills. They'll probably have high energy bills this summer if it's another hot summer with air conditioning and things. We help people locate and apply for transportation services. We help people identify if they might be eligible for home delivered meals. There's medical equipment we provide outreach on. We provide information and referral for things like fall prevention. We provide guidance on chronic illnesses like Parkinson's disease. We do long-term care planning for folks who need it to determine what's best in terms of, is it care at home? Do I need to plan for moving into a care facility? We're knowledgeable about Medicare benefits, Medicaid benefits, and now we're going to be scaling up and getting knowledgeable about the new Washington CARES Act, the Long-Term Care Trust Fund that's being developed with the payroll deduction starting in July. So we're negotiating with the state to have education and outreach about that program. So when people see that payroll deduction, they understand that the benefit's going to be delayed a couple of years, but we're going to start educating them on how to use that benefit when the time comes. So that's just kind of a small summary of the vast breadth of things that we do in our office and the things that we can help people with if they call.
That's cool. Are these relevant to just Pierce County?
So our office serves Pierce County, but both federally and state by state, there are typically area agencies on aging like us statewide. Some counties do it a little bit differently, where if they're a more rural county, they might combine in a consortium with other counties. So Thurston, Mason, Lewis is one combined area on aging, for example. But King County are their own. I believe Kitsap County is its own. So the older adult piece of what we do is typical both statewide and nationwide. The aging and disability component is a little bit more limited because not every county, I believe, in the state adopted that model, and federally it's different even so. So we're fortunate in Pierce County that we were able to scale from that older adult services program to that younger adult disabled group. Because for anyone that's dealt with that population, either themselves or as a colleague or as a professional, many of the programs that those people have to navigate are very similar to older adult programs: Medicare, Medicaid, in-home care, shuttle transportation, things like that. So it was a big missing piece when we weren't able to serve that younger adult population. And without adequate guidance through the system, people fail to identify and access programs that keep them healthier. And so it doesn't serve anyone if we have people and members of our community who are ill or injured, who are younger adults, that aren't getting the support they need to stay healthy. Because ultimately what we want to see is people to be able to age in place, age comfortably, whether they're healthy into older adulthood, whether they're disabled younger, so that they can stay where they're most comfortable, which is typically where they live. When you're surveying people, 95% or more say, I would like to have the supports I need to continue to live where I am, rather than uprooting and moving into some sort of a care community to get the help they need.
Let's move on. Are there any particular stakeholders that the ADRC partners with closely? Because you talked about like caregiving and stuff like that. So
yeah, and in fact, we just had our update for our area plan. The county has what's known as an area plan, and so every few years we update that, and then every 10 years we really produce a brand new area plan. And that basically is a survey of us determining what community needs there are, both with professional partnerships and from the public, and then developing and continuing on with programs to meet those needs. So starting with our Pierce County Aging and Disability Resources Advisory Board, that's the first group of stakeholders that we really collaborate with. And that is a group of older adults. It's a culturally diverse group. We like to have some disabled people on that group. Plus, because of the huge geographical spread of Pierce County, we try to have people from different areas of the county. It's amazing that you can drive from Long Branch out on the peninsula all the way to the doorstep of Mount Rainier out to Ashford, and that's all Pierce County along the way. And so it's a very, very large county geographically. And so culturally, you see those differences when you move out from this urban course into the suburbs and then out into the rural areas. So we like to have representation among those different cultural groups, plus the multicultural aspect of diversity, equity, inclusion, which are three of our big value points that we're pushing right now. We also have liaisons like myself through education and outreach, where we're out there talking to the public, both in settings like this one that you've offered us, but also in education and outreach for public events. So one thing that we love doing during the summer is having a resource table at the local farmers markets, because a lot of folks go out to the farmers markets during the summer, and that's an opportunity to reach a group of people that might not be specifically there to say, oh, I have an illness or injury or a disability or an older adult concern right here at the market, but they might have one at home, or they might have one among their friends or family, or they might have aging parents they're worried about. And so we capture that group by being there. And so that's another way we kind of connect with the community, by bridging that gap between just saying you're only going to call us for a specific reason, and being out there in the community and connecting with people. We also have liaisons with our state legislatures. So we're making sure that they know of the concerns we have. This last legislative session, we were very fortunate. It looks like most of the funding priorities that we have matched up with what the state legislature had as well. So older adults, persons with disabilities, service recipients, professionals, elected officials, those are all part of who are our stakeholders. We also partner with the Washington Department of Veterans Affairs. We have veteran service officers in our Pierce County Veterans Program that serve that community, both the individual veterans, retirees, and spouses. We also have multiple letters of collaboration, meaning that we partner with professional groups, including the Alzheimer's Association, Korean Women's Association, the Rainbow Center, the Center for Independence, the Office of Deaf, Speech, and Hearing, Catholic Community Services, Hope Vision Foundation, East Pierce Fire and Rescue. A couple of examples of that, we're going to be at the JBLM Retiree Health Fair out on the base this Friday with a vendor table. We're going to be in Gig Harbor at the Hope Vision Fair at Ocean 5 this Saturday. So we're always looking at opportunities where we can meet with those stakeholders professionally, but also fan out into the community, because our stakeholders are really the residents of Pierce County ultimately. And certainly there's different groups that we more try to reach that are underserved, both in the rural aspect and both in terms of the underserved minority population aspect. But ultimately, we want anybody that has a concern, whether it's an older adult concern, a disability concern, to give us a call first and work with us and partner with us to see if we can find the solutions they're looking for.
My next question is, what impact does your organization have on communities as a whole, particularly the disability community?
Thanks for asking that, because we really like to think that we're there trying to impact and improve the lives of the people in our community. What our philosophy is that we're going to offer programs and services that provide a healthy, safe, and financially stable home setting for the older adult and disabled residents of Pierce County. And that goes back to that aging in place philosophy, which basically is saying that we want people to experience the suffering that they might have from a disability or the incapacity they might experience as an older adult, and continue to be able to thrive at home and not have to think about, this is a place that's not going to work for me. And sometimes we're more successful than other times, but I think overall we're really pushing that aspect of what services and supports can we put into that most familiar setting to support that person. I mentioned before, our COPES program does a lot with that, both in caregiving and the Medicaid supplemental services it provides, like medical equipment, like mobility equipment, like home adaptations, including ramps and grab bars, so people can live at home and not feel that they're at risk for falling or not being able to take care of themselves. The TSOA program I mentioned, the family caregiver support program I mentioned. And then we also fund senior centers in the community where folks can go. We have senior centers, again, all the way from Eatonville out to Buckley, out to Lake Bay, into Gig Harbor, Stillicum, all over the county where folks can go if they're older adults and go ahead and socialize with others older adults, have a good lunchtime meal, maybe join in an exercise program. We have senior and disabled property tax exemptions. We've been doing a roadshow with the assessor's office about that. We make people sure that they're aware of where the senior and disabled apartment buildings are, whether there's any subsidy housing application programs going on. It doesn't happen as often as we like, but they are out there. And then things like affordable rents, we advocate for affordable mortgages, property taxes, homeowner insurance, trying to make sure the places where people do live have adequate electrical, plumbing, mechanical, ramps, grab bars, doorways that accommodate mobility devices, energy efficient homes, and trying to make sure that people have the ability to get from where they live to local services with transportation options, or bringing those services into them, whether that's home delivered meals, whether that's a home vaccination for a COVID vaccine, or whether it might be even like a home doctor program that are available now. So we're really out there constantly trying to think of ways where we can keep people healthy at home, out of the hospital, and not facing an outcome that says your home isn't an adequate place for you to be anymore for your disabling or older adult condition. We want to extend your ability to live at home as long as that's possible in a healthy, safe, and financially stable way.
Lastly, how does ADRC create an inclusive and welcoming environment for everyone, especially people with disabilities?
Well, our office follows the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion among our staff and when engaging the community. So all of our buildings that you might visit are always going to be fully ADA rule accessible. We have the building at Soundview where I work that has the wheelchair lift capability for people to go up and down the floors there to the bottom floor if they need to and back up to the main floor. We have automatic doorways out front, lots of disabled parking. We have a good easy ramp up front that people can come up. Plus we can assist them if they need that, if they're in a mobility device. The bathrooms are mobility accessible, as is our offices over the Tacoma Mall office building. We really make it easier on clients by going to see them in their home. That's really one of the key things that really suffered during COVID because we were restricted from doing that and we had to do a lot of things over the phone. Having that in the home aspect really takes away a lot of barriers to service because folks don't have to feel like, geez, I'm in Buckley. How am I going to get into Tacoma to see my case manager? You know, we don't do that. We're going to go see them in Buckley or we're going to communicate over the phone. We're going to DocuSign with them if they can email, or we're going to return mail things to them. We're never going to put them in the position unless they want to come in when we can just as easily go out to see them. So that right away takes a lot of barriers. We're fortunate on our phone team. We have multiple language capabilities. We also can bring in interpreters. We can use the telephonic relay system if we need to for deaf clients. Plus we can bring in ASL interpreters if we need them. And we have the closed captioning capability on all the Zoom meetings we do. We also have on our A to Z resource page, online translations that are available for folks for multiple languages. We can also do larger print on those if people need them and other accessibility options if they need them. And then again, we're out there in the community. So we were invited to an Office of Deaf and Hard of Hearing resource fair, the first of its kind. It's going to be June 1 in Lacey. We're going to be there. They're going to provide the ASL interpreters for us so we can be there and communicate with folks who have questions about programs. We're doing the Gig Harbor Vision Fair on Saturday. We're probably going to have a lot of visually limited folks coming in. So we're making sure that we have the ability to communicate them without having to hand them a lot of documents. We're going to be doing some verbal presentations there, and we'll be able to send information to them after the fact if they need it. We have our Medicare and UBIT handbooks in multiple languages, our senior farmers market programs in multiple languages. And really, like I said, the key to what we do is inviting those people in, serving on our advisory board, giving us feedback with our area plan, and really going out and meeting them where they are and not expecting them to overcome a significant number of obstacles to come to see us. And that's true with our education and outreach as well. We focus on the rural areas, we focus on the suburban areas, and then we have our events in the core areas as well. But the key is just trying to do a wide variety of events in a bunch of different locations. We found over the years that we were forced to go onto Zoom and do certain things, and Zoom has its limitations for what people can do. But I think the days of saying we're going to have a big education event like Social Security in one spot in the middle of Tacoma, those days are gone. I think if COVID taught us anything, communication has to happen close by where people are and not trying to convince people to drive miles and miles and hours to come to an education event when we can do that event at their local library just as well as having them take all that time to see us. Our goal is for us to see them rather than them having to come to see us.
Mm-hmm. Cool.